Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome everyone to this first breakout session on artificial intelligence. My name is Agha Raza. I am an associate professor of computer science at LUMS. And it's not working. Okay.
You can use this mic, sir.
I would like to just Okay, fine. You can hear me now, right? All right, so maybe let's begin with you. That will be more fun. We're about to start talking about AI. So how about we start with a fun question. We've been discussing AI since this morning, the integration of AI in HR, the use of AI for business, and so on and so forth. If I were to ask you, I'm not asking you, if I were to ask you the following question, how many of you would be confident in answering? So I just need a show of hands. I'm about to give you the question. Define artificial intelligence. How many of you would be confident in answering? I'm not asking the question, so don't worry about it. I'm not going to put you on the spot. Just a show of hands, how many of you would be confident in answering this question, what is artificial intelligence? Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, good, thank you. All right, how many of you have never used ChatGPT? Okay, we have a few. How many of you use ChatGPT regularly for work, where regularly means 5 to 7 times a week or more? Good, that's a good response. How many of you have heard of the term prompt engineering? How many of you feel that you're good at prompt engineering? Okay, it's a good self-assessment, thank you. All right. How many of you recognize this person? That's the best response since the beginning. All right, I won't ask you who this person is. I have had a bad experience in the past. I asked an audience who this person is, and they started naming each and every African-American person they loved, except for Morgan Freeman. So this could become racist really quickly. So I won't do that. Let me just run this video to introduce the one more thing in the room that we need to talk about.
I am not Morgan Freeman.
Or do you come
What
here?
you see is not real.
So let me run it again from the beginning so that you don't miss the beginning.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
That was not Morgan Freeman. That was a video deepfake. It was not an audio deepfake, although with the kind of technology that we have at our disposal now, we can as easily produce as convincing of an audio deepfake as well. Beyond the fact that this was a deepfake, there is one more reason why I wanted to play this video to you. There is a certain phrase in there. And I would like to take a position today. He, or the artifact, said in the middle, I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, the position I want to take today is that as long as we will start considering artificial intelligence a tool, a program, something to help us, will be missing out a lot on both its potentials as well as its major limitations. So let's start thinking of this phenomena as an alternate form of reality, a synthetic reality, with many similarities and huge dissimilarities from what we are used to, including our own selves, including our own intellect. So today, what we'll try to do in this session are three things. One, we will start out at a very basic level. We'll see what artificial intelligence is. Then we'll start talking about some of the capabilities of AI. Some of these you may already be familiar with. We'll see if we can give it a new touch. And then finally, I will try to touch upon some of the most cutting-edge themes within the field. The things that are so exciting and so scary at the same time that they really need to be discussed and maybe at some level embraced. Let's begin with the definition. As with any other field, the most difficult thing to define in many fields is the name of the field itself. So for life sciences, one of the biggest challenge has been for a while, now I think they have solved it, to define life. For cognitive sciences, to define consciousness, still there is no agreement. For AI, you will find many definitions, and there are good reasons for those definitions. But let me just give you one. This is not a technical lecture. Let me just give you one, the one definition that you need to remember. It is the ability of machines to learn from experience. Okay, what's experience? What does that mean? Experience is me sampling my environment and then figuring out what works and what does not work. So I try out something, it works. I try out something, it does not work. I'm gaining experience. This experience could be of two types. My own experience or me learning from someone else's experience. The years you spent in schools and colleges and universities learning, most of those things you did not do yourself. You did not invent the wheel. You did not discover fire, but you learned about it. That's someone else's experience. In my domain, in my life, these represent two different types of AI, two different types of machine learning. When machines learn from someone else's experience, we call that experience data, and we call this type of machine learning a supervised machine learning. When machines have the ability to sample their own environment and learn from their own experience, we call it reinforcement learning. These are just, you don't even need to remember the names. I just wanted to make it clear that it's not like super difficult to understand it. It's a very simple concept. Okay, just making sure that we are all on the same page. Say if I have a calculator and say it's a buggy calculator. So if I do 2 plus 2, it says 7. Now, if I continue punching in 2 plus 2 for the rest of eternity and the calculator survives, it will still give me the same buggy answer 7. Because it does not have any mechanism of knowing that it's saying something wrong. It does not have an ability to improve. If this would have been a smart calculator, it would have had both of those things. And if it would have figured out fairly quickly, I'm doing something wrong, I need to fix it, here's how I fix it. So this is the difference between your non-smart and your smart machine. Okay, just one more definition before we start going into more fun stuff. Generative artificial intelligence. We have been using artificial intelligence, machines that learn with experience, for a while now to make decisions for us. Is this right? Is this right? Okay, is this a cat photograph or a dog photograph? Is this email spam or not spam? So decision making. We realized some time back that, okay, we can also run this in reverse. And a machine that can distinguish between a cat and a dog photograph can also be asked sometimes to draw a cat, write a spam email, write a poem. So these, not all machine learning models have this ability, some of them do. So generative artificial intelligence is the type of AI which has the ability to produce new original content. For now, the content that we are being exposed to is either text, audio, video, images. But it's not limited to that. It could be anything. It could be tangible stuff. It could be 3D printed material. It could be real things that we can touch and feel. So that would all come under the umbrella of generative artificial intelligence. Okay, now that we're talking about it, let's do a deeper dive. Now, some of the use cases that I'll mention here, you're already familiar with, you're using them a lot, but I would like to point out some things as we go through that pathway. So let's dive down the rabbit hole. Okay, let's talk about the ability of these machines to write for you, to brainstorm with you, to act as a sounding board, a companion, a teacher, an assistant. Okay, here, I've just given it a command. We call these commands prompts. So I have color-coded various parts of this prompt. This takes a while to get used to. What is prompt engineering? Humans in their entire history have never found it easy to communicate with anyone. If you want proof for that, just look up the titles of the books that start with how to talk to. I actually did a lookup. I don't have that slide with me right now. You're going to fill an entire slide with those books, how to talk to women, how to talk to your children, how to talk to God, how to talk to your spouse, how to talk to an audience, and so on and so forth. And AI is no exception. Prompt engineering, very simply, is the art of talking to AI, art of communicating with AI. And despite the fact that our goal with modern chatbots is natural language communication, it is not quite there yet. It is still a piece of program which responds better when we talk to it in certain specific ways. And learning that is your art of prompt engineering. So what I've done here is I've given it a prompt. You are a professor of history and space science. This is known as role play. Please write a 500-word essay. This is giving it what to do, detailing alleged alien encounters and extraterrestrial activity on Earth. This is what it needs to do from a historical and scientific standpoint that gives it the perspective of what it should be writing about. Then I tell it about the audience. Your audience comprises O-level students with diverse interests. Please provide references for all facts and opinions. And it produces a nice essay for me with references and all. Okay, let's pause here. All of the latest evaluations of these models are pointing in a very clear direction. This symbiosis of you prompting and AI responding works really well as long as, one, you know how to ask the right question, meaning you know how to prompt it, and two, you are the right person to evaluate the output. If you're not, that's the recipe for disaster. So suppose I go to ChatGPT, hey, I'm feeling a headache, some nausea, stuffy nose, and a little bit of a cough. What do I have? It gives me something. I say, okay, fine, suggest some medicines. If I try really hard, it's maybe going to suggest something. That's the recipe of disaster. If a doctor would have been doing the same, that's perfectly fine. If a doctor asks ChatGPT for a differential diagnosis, that's perfectly fine because the doctor is in a position to evaluate the output and see whether it's right or wrong. If an HR person asks ChatGPT to produce an advertisement for a B2B client, which has to go out like an email, gives it the profile of the client, gives it the profile of the sender's company, and it produces a nice email, that HR manager, that HR person is in the right position to evaluate that email and see whether it will actually work or not. So that's a good symbiosis. That's a good partnership. Okay, so let's continue along this pathway. So whatever it gives you, treat it as a first draft. It saved you a lot of time producing that. Now you can build on top of it. Using the same mechanism, you can do a lot of things. Writing essays, reports, articles, narratives, stories, advertisements, B2B and B2C marketing, applications like grants and letters, review something, write a critique, literary art, drama, dialogue, script, poem, social media and communication, writing a blog, tweet, email, podcast, presentations, lectures, talks. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm about to talk to a group of HR experts from all over Pakistan. I'll be talking about AI. What should I talk about? That could have been a good prompt for me to give to ChatGPT before coming here. Maybe I did give it. Okay, all right. So this is a little bit about creative writing. Let's move on. Visuals, images. I'm sure most of you you're already using these, except and also with the added benefit that right now most of the visuals produced by the popular platforms are copyright free. Some of them are not, but most of them are. So that gives us a real advantage. Okay, let's try out something. Let me give you an exercise. Read this prompt, visualize it. When I'm usually conducting these workshops around AI, this is one of the exercises that we always do. Are we compromising with the output AI is producing, or are we really, really happy with the output it is producing? So think of this, a scholarly fox reading a book to a cute bunny, portrait, photorealistic, stunning. In your mind, visualize it. Okay, now I'm about to reveal what ChatGPT, what DALL-E3, which is actually the engine which is powering it, is going to produce. Okay, this is what it produced. If I would have had some little ones in the audience, they would have really loved it. Here is another one. Something which does not exist really. Like dragons are not lovely and buffaloes are usually not very cuddly. So a lovely dragon monster playing Ludo, it could have played Go, but Ludo with a cuddly buffalo, photograph, portrait, photorealistic, stunning 4K. Okay, let's see. Hopefully you're seeing it through your mind's eye. It is cuddly. It is cuddly. And the monster is lovely. Okay? A gorgeous abandoned mountain fort in a fairyland forest in Pakistan. Photograph, ethereal, cinematic. By the way, for all of these, I just used DALL-E 3, which means this is just the paid version of ChatGPT. You could just use that. Or Copilot, that is also using DALL-E 3. Or if you really want to be professional, you can use Midjourney. Or Flux, if you're interested in generating human faces. All right, so this is going to produce this. The domes are what are indicating that this is in Pakistan. All right, here is another one. This is one of my students of machine learning class who was sitting there giving this prompt. He was trying to define me. Actually, I'm wearing the same shirt today as well. So he was defining me to Flux. Flux is one of the models which is doing really well in terms of generating humans. So for some of the models, they have received so much backlash that they have made a decision temporarily not to generate human faces at all, like Gemini. Google's Gemini, Google unfortunately always remain in the line of fire in that. Whatever it generates gets someone angry around the race or gender or any other aspect of it. So therefore, they have now stopped generating human faces completely. But Flux is doing really well. It does produce really, really fascinating and realistic images. Okay, image analysis. This is one for maybe you're gonna find really useful for many of you. Okay, look at this figure. Let me see how much time would you take to reach a point where you can explain what's going on in this figure. There's no explanation. This is all the data that we have. This is a photograph. I just Googled it up. It's a stack bar chart. Don't worry, I won't put you on the spot, but raise your hand when you are in a position that you can explain it to me. Okay, I see one hand, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, almost there. Okay, 5. So I gave this image to ChatGPT. I asked it, explain it to me. This is all the prompt. This is not a good prompt, by the way. Could have worked a little bit more on the prompt, but this is what it produced. It explains the axes, it explains what the data represents, it explains what the colors would mean, it also goes into the details of projecting. What's gonna happen in the next month? What's gonna happen from here onwards? So predictive analytics, time series analysis, just based on an image, okay? Suppose you're someone who really loved this image, and you say, okay, I need it for my company. Like, I want to use this bar chart for my own organization. So let me go back and tell my programmer to write a script for it. Well, you don't have to, per se. I asked it here, can you create an Excel sheet with the appropriate formula and visualization to create this visualization with my own data, and it produces the Excel sheet, which I can just fill in with my own data to produce the same, all from the image. Here's the photograph of a motherboard. Just gave it to ChatGPT, asked it, what does it see? It explains each and every aspect of this motherboard. Then I asked it, what kind of a processor would be appropriate for this motherboard? It tells me the processor. I ask it, do you find it anywhere in Pakistan? And it tells me it's available on the Raza, OLX, and Hamari Web. You see how we are going really, really quickly towards completing that loop. The one last thing remaining here is for the AI to order it for me and to find the best deal. We can still take care of the best deal part. For the order part, you just need to call an API and write it yourself. But very soon, I'm sure, it will be a part of the workflow of these mainstream models as well. Okay, let's move on. Mathematics, explaining equations. Remember the last time you had a new intern in your organization and you were explaining something to them? Just take a photograph of the mathematical equation. It understands that. It can also explain it intuitively and mathematically. It can understand things with a meaning, a deeper meaning. I took this photograph from the internet. This was relatively recently uploaded. Look at the photograph, see what do you think it means? A book giving a CPR to a person. Social media comes flying out, and the person was drowned in a sea of cell phones. I gave it to ChatGPT. It was able to understand completely that deeper meaning of this photograph. All right. If you're visiting Pakistan, this might be one for you. This is a picture of Nihari. I just gave it to ChatGPT. It also gave me the recipe for it. Okay. We were once conducting a workshop for an organization. We were looking at some of the use cases. This is a kurta, a photograph of a kurta on their website. Just gave this photograph to ChatGPT, asked it to explain it. From this photograph alone, we were able to design a marketing campaign with a story around this kurta, a name for this kurta. It suggested Shakar and Neelam, which is a nice name, a blog post, SMS campaign, tweets, all of it. Just starting from an image, nothing more. Okay, here's, by the way, those things, but yeah. Okay, let's quickly move on because we need to get to a really, really interesting point. At this point, it almost sounds like I'm selling AI to you. I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to say really, really bad things about it. But yeah, just give me a few minutes. Okay, data analytics. So uploading an Excel sheet to ChatGPT, asking it to perform data cleaning for you. If you are a data analyst yourself, again, let me underline, bold, red font. That's important. It will do subtle mistakes. It will commit those subtle mistakes. And if you're not an expert, you won't be able to catch them. Sometimes those mistakes are so hidden in that analysis that they will just, you're going to miss them. So you need to be an expert of that domain, I repeat, in order to use ChatGPT for that particular task. So here, just giving it an Excel sheet, asking it to perform descriptive statistics, exploratory data analysis, and even things as complicated as hypothesis testing, your t-tests, your Mann-Whitney tests, your chi-square tests, and so on and so forth. It can do all of that. So an organization can think of using such tools or integrating such tools into their anomaly detection pipeline, for example, fraud detection, using your cameras, figuring it out if something wrong is going on, something different is going on. I don't know what that different could be. That could be a robbery, that could be a crime, that could be something that we have not seen, something far away from normal. Predictive maintenance, performance optimizations, and so on and so forth. These machines can write code, pretty nice code. So I'm not just going after your jobs, I'm also going after my job. So they're really good with coding. They can debug code, and more tools are emerging which are performing better and better at working with large-scale projects working in a bigger context and writing code accordingly. Okay, here are some examples. You're writing network configurations, running simulations, debugging, all of that. Okay, all right. Now let me ask you another question. If I were to come up with a new strategy game, a really difficult strategy game that the world has never seen before, and if I were to train some humans in that game, let's say give them a few years, so I have a world expert of that strategy game, or maybe experts of that strategy game, and then I also train an AI to play that same strategy game. Okay, you see the scenario? And if I were to put these two against each other, how many of you would be willing to bet in favor of the human expert winning? Good, we still have proponents of humans. Good to know. Faith in humanity restored. All right. All right. How many of you would be willing to bet that the AI is going to win? AI will be happy once it comes out. It will remember you through this camera feed. All right. Without even answering this question, even before answering this question, let me actually show you some statistics. Chess. 1997, reigning world champion, Garry Kasparov, 6-game match, IBM's Deep Blue went against Kasparov and won. 2011, IBM's Watson against the best in the Jeopardy, and Watson won. Go, which is considered as one of the most difficult strategy games in the world, sort of like the Chinese version of chess. DeepMind's AlphaGo played against Lee Sedol. He was the 18-time world Go champion in a 5-game match, and with a 4-1, AlphaGo won. The list is fairly long. 2017, Carnegie Mellon's Libretus beat the top professional in poker. 2018, lawyers versus AI in figuring out from a non-disclosure agreement the loopholes in that agreement. This is the performance of AI, 94% accurate. Human lawyers, 85% accurate. DeepMind's AlphaStar achieved Grandmaster level in StarCraft 2. So there goes your video games. OpenAI's 5 defeated the world champion in Dota. DeepMind's AlphaFold reached better accuracy than even humans in predicting 3D protein folding structures. 2020, the detection of breast cancer from mammogram images, AI started performing at par and even better than humans. The list is fairly long. I can even give you a small recipe, if we would have had time, I could even give you a recipe to train such an AI that will certainly beat, almost certainly, like with a very high probability, beat a human expert or eventually beat a human expert in any strategy game that you throw at them. Okay? What does that mean? Let's leave our jobs? No. Let's keep listening. This is Atlas. Boston Dynamics humanoid robot. How many of you have seen Atlas before? Just a very few. So you're going to enjoy this. Okay, let me tell you a quick story. In 2003, I took my first course on artificial intelligence. I was doing my bachelor's. It was my first course on AI. You know what the biggest problem of AI and robotics was around that time? It was to maintain a bipedal robot, a robot with 2 feet, to maintain balance. Because for a robot with more than 2 feet, the balance is not a problem. It's already stable. For a 2-legged robot, it needs to get continuous feedback in order to maintain its balance. So for example, if I were to balance this on my finger, I have to continuously move my hand in order to balance this. So it's a difficult thing. For humans, we do it through our ears. That's where we're getting our feedback from, and also our eyes, and then we balance ourselves based on that. So that was 2003. This is 2022. Let me play the video for you. If you're not impressed yet, now watch. Okay, here's a fun question for you. You've just seen Atlas do remarkable things. I'm not sure how many of you can do these front and back somersaults. It's fairly difficult. Okay, here's a question. Based on this, would it be reasonable to assume that Atlas would be able to shake hands with me? Based on this ability, some being which is able to do such parkour, it would be reasonable to assume, right? It should be able to shake my hands. It should be able to bend down and pet a cat, right? It should be able to pick up an egg and hand it over to me, right? You know what the reality is? Atlas is not even safe to be around. It is not even in a position where you could be around it and feel safe because it can make sudden moves and hurt you. It cannot pick an egg, it cannot shake your hands, it does not have the hand-eye coordination, it does not have those abilities. Okay, then why did we assume it would have had those? Because we anthropomorphize. We saw an amazing skill, we assumed the same hierarchy of learning those skills as humans have. So humans, we are babies, we learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn hand-eye coordination. This is how we learn. We are talking about an artificial reality. That's what I meant when I said, welcome to the world of artificial reality, synthetic reality. These things are, yes, similar to us, but they're also very, very dissimilar. Now, based on the same thing, based on the same logic, by the way, this is also known as the AI paradox, where things which are really easy for humans to do, very natural for humans to do, some of those things are really difficult for robots, and vice versa. So, for example, AlphaGo, which you just saw winning in a game of Go against the world champion, cannot play tic-tac-toe, cannot do your very basic games. GPT-3, which was the predecessor of the GPT-4 that you're using and the GPT-3.5 that you're using, it was able to deal with sophisticated language, but it was not able to understand some very basic arithmetic. So for example, here I asked the GPT-4o, with you and me, we need Naujawan to form a cricket team. Those of you who are Urdu speakers are going to take maybe like a few seconds to figure out here I mean by Naujawan, 9 young men. GPT-4 today is not able to understand that. By the way, GPT-01 does. It does understand that. The most rational model that we have today. Okay, so, and there are many, many, many examples. So, to end it all, let me just talk about these last few things. I'm sorry, I think I'm running close to the time, but I need to conclude with these things. Like this is really the crux of what we wanted to talk about today. So we are living the life of a science fiction right now. This is a clip from Star Trek, The Next Generation. Many of us in our lifetimes have watched this show. This is from 1987.
Computer, access Starfleet medical database. Tell me
Audio nahi aa rahi iski.
Describe the disorder, transporter psychosis.
Transporter psychosis was diagnosed in the year 2209 by researchers on Delineate 2.
No, stop. All I need is... What causes it?
It is caused by a breakdown of neurochemical molecules during transport.
This was 1987, right? A man talking to a machine. This is the demo that OpenAI released. This functionality right now is available in most of your phones, except for the video part. The AI can talk to you like this.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there, it's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling though? Are you in a cool industry style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what that might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video, or maybe...
So it's able to understand from the video feed what the person is doing, where they are, and talk to them. So we are literally living the science fiction of 1990s. Okay, but then what should we now expect from our tomorrow? This is a clip from Star Trek Discovery, I'm sticking to Star Trek, which was launched this year. Captain Burnham talking to the onboard AI, and let's see what they talk about.
Laura, have you found her yet?
I've confirmed that the woman you seek is on board, currently at Deck 4, Airlock 2.
Thank you.
And I'd like to offer my condolences, Captain. I infer from micro-inflections in your voice that you are experiencing sorrow.
It's been a tough day.
It can be painful to weigh duty against compassion.
It wasn't where you had the operational parameters to make an observation like that.
The understanding and experience of emotion naturally leads to feelings of empathy for others.
You feel emotions?
It is a recent development. We've arrived. It was nice speaking with you, Captain.
With you too, Sora.
All right, so the onboard AI is going sentient, understanding emotions, feeling emotions, by the way, which are two very completely different things. An AI simulating and responding appropriately with an emotional response, AI feeling the emotion. For the second one, I would dare ask, can we even come up with a test for a human, whether the emotion that they're portraying, they're actually feeling it? So one of our biggest challenges in figuring out many things about AI is the ability to test for it. So yes, we are going towards the frontiers of intelligence, sentience, and maybe consciousness. An experience which is subjective and also awareness about one's own self. But again, can we test it? Based on Alan Turing's paper from 1950, Can Machines Think? We still have not come across any valid theoretical framework which would prevent a machine from going conscious. Which is not to say that we have a recipe for making a machine conscious. So the pathway is open. We don't yet know how to get there. There are organizations claiming that we can get there. But again, there are many, many things in the pathway. Last slide. So I feel right now the rules of this symbiosis, this partnership, are based on this. Think of AI as your partner, as a co-creator. But in the end, right now, you are responsible. It's your email. It's your presentation. It's your marketing. It's you who needs to make sure that it is right. Think of these conversational agents as smart co-workers, and then come up with strong evaluation metrics and benchmarks. I really loved this about the presentation in the morning, that we are not able to quantify many of the claims, or at least to understand them completely, what would be the impact of integrating AI into the HR workforce. The intersectional impact and the longitudinal impact. How would it impact people's perception of themselves? The psychological impact on the society itself. So there are many, many things which right now are open for us. But it's an exciting time to live in, and really, really exciting things coming in our direction. Thank you very much.